So, we have to do something, to make more space on my hard drive, which means I've got to finish now. But you see, the funny thing is, so in another place, that's the way the House of Commons speaks of the House of Lords. Maybe that's the way I need to look at it, actually. Yes, I've opened a House of Lords. It will be there for the rest of my life. And in another place, I've put a terrible, not terrible, but terrible. Life is full of tragedies and terrible things that shouldn't be so. Yes, I've put a terrible video that some would see as, well, unfortunately, the majority in this awful society of assuming. And see, I'm the lucky one. I kind of taught myself a brand of absolutely critical first responder. Let's call it parent therapy, where I had to deal with parents who were quite likely going to lose their children. And I had to develop a way of speaking with them. And one of the things I tried to explain to them, for God's sake, don't second guess if they're in a custody dispute that's caught the attention of social services, which means you can lose your children. You have to behave in an enlightened, calm, functional way with one another. And as digital came along, they would all be second guessing. Don't second guess. So, whilst all that's left in life is it's actually exhausting because nobody, I was going to say if they're female, nobody has a communication that is, and I space my communication out. When I put some new concept in a communique, I make sure I've left time. If another concept has been floated somebody's way, I leave time for that to be read, settle inside of them. But you never get the coherent ping pong, like I'm pinging, pong back. Yes, I read or I heard your note, your memo on this topic. I think you're right, I think you're wrong, I think you're barking up the silliest tree any cat has ever pissed on in human existence. No, you don't get that anymore, which means it's absolutely pointless to communicate. So why would I be turning my camera on when I know, that's been the case for some years. So what is creation of content or broadcasting? Well, I'm the lucky one. My terrible realization a couple of days ago, it's not terrible, frightening, it's actually one of those deep things like, my legs got gangrene. My terrible realization is it has to be chopped off, although I don't chop anything off. In fact, exactly the opposite. Even if I never am able to see my leg again, I will act as if one day the shoe will want to be put back on the leg. That's getting silly. No. Especially now I've let that out into the world, because who knows? Friend or foe? Who knows? I don't know. It's a universal thing if a parent is doing fine, ticking over in life. The woman I spent 3 hours with yesterday, She's very close into her 35-year-old boy and is very man and is very, very concerned about his future, despite him being on the face of it functional. And her whole fact, she was here recceing for a place where her and him could have a bit of a different life. 35-year-old son. So I have a responsibility to show that no matter what, I'm ticking over okay. I have that responsibility. If I drop dead in a month or 10 years, that's all my responsibility is. And my daughter, in 10 years, was curious. Well, I had difficult thoughts within herself. I'd wanted to see this now. I'm perfectly all right. plus, no matter what, to honour the existence of a human being who one has only ever been grateful they are extant. And that is part of the power. It's part of the Saudade, actually. I wish to create only for that reason. I don't promote anything I ever create. Maybe one day I will. But I wish to create something that her, now highly educated, but at the very least has a BA in literature from the very hardest BA literature course in Britain, to communicate something worthwhile that she will be a target for also one day. Simple as that. So lucky. That's so narcissistic turning the camera on, but it isn't, because it's the tool of the age now. In fact, I'm the opposite of narcissistic, because I'm able to turn the camera on and just figure if there can be some real use in it, despite being brought up, or rather living in an age where turning cameras on and Thomas Bernard's Extinction is my Bible, where he so attacks the amateur photographer. And I'm sure he would say exactly the same thing about the modern day camera operator, where the camera's turned on themselves. But things have changed. Society's changed. So there we go. Time to become the other person. Oh yes. I have actually, in the last week or two, been diligently making a few little films. This is the last. This is the end. This is the end of This Ralph. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Why is it the end of This Ralph? Because in this country, I mean, I'm in a beautiful area, away from stress. And yet the bearing of almost everybody you meet now, they have this little kind of hurt. They're displaying their hurt. The last 2.5 years, nearly 3 years, has hurt them. Or rather, they have to be treated now with kid gloves, even the big tough guys with shaved heads. It's just fucking ridiculous. It's like, there's no hope. Somebody said 3 or 4 months ago, Mister, your body's still here, but your heart, your spirit, your soul is elsewhere. And that really is the truth. I cannot. There is no, I mean, you have Desmond with his clever phrase, which is not really correct, but is, in a way, mass formation psychosis. No, it's just this kind of, forget that. But 97% of people are like, totally, their new persona post-2020 is, oh, now, I've got to look at, I've got to reserve the right to withdraw, or to put a border up between me and you, because I could be hurt. And the malarkey in the Tory party the last 3 months. I mean, so, you know, if you want to listen to this fucking country, you turn on the 11. What's it? I listened to Sunday Love Songs, except I didn't this morning, and turned it on at 5 to 11. And then the guy that comes on at 11 o'clock, Mr. Cheesy Radio 2 DJ, I forget what his name is. First thing he says, you know, but they've all been doing it now. So it's infected everybody. Is, oh my God, do we even want to be alive at times like this? You know, times like this, what? It's just, you have, you know, well, I was going to say Thatcherism, Reagan Thatcherism is being questioned. No, it's not. The same neoliberals are in charge. So actually nothing has happened. And, well, we can't even mention some people put on their Facebook or their whatever, the carrot. I'm against the carrot. I've no interest in this. None. But quite likely, the true reality is that very few people who weren't going to die anyway died of something in 2020, and or at the most it's a 2 or 3 times pneumonia, and we don't ever talk about pneumonia. So there we go. Anyway, we don't talk about that. Not to deny, it's like that was a time for us to actually find real community. And the barriers to come down, and no, they've gone up so strongly now, because everybody still has the right to be my little world. Even those with quite well-off little worlds, that world is under attack. And thus, I'm a bit hard, or I have the right to be careful and cautious in my bearing and my dealings with. And, oh no, stay away from that person. They're not quite of us. They haven't got the Marks and Spencers, it's a shortcut language for, they haven't got a kind of the attire that says you're careful. Even the dog, everybody's got to have an expensive £50 harness for their dog now. You know, it's all about displaying that I'm a carefully together person, rather than being a together person. And if you're a together person, you'd be just stripping off, getting every last bit of ray you can, which boosts your immunity, if you're worried about something that has got away. Boris was right. Anyway, forget. Yeah, there's no point. There's no point. I want to go and be in South America or Namibia or somewhere like that, where people are getting on with real life. And their smiles are real. Right, yeah, stop going on about that. But if only there were 1 or 2 out there to be compañeros on projects, because it's a great time. May not be for a few years that people will really sit back and breathe and, well, they'll never accept they were dickheads to buy into the, I don't care about the Assyria, but no, not to find a lot of potential good in 2020. Nope, people can't. It's almost subversive to say that now. It wasn't. Actually, that's something that's happened, you see, because there was a section of society in summer 2020 that were speaking like that. But no, even that now is almost subversive to speak like that. It's so interesting, this period, and I have the most magnificent chronicle in lots of those. Now, I think it'll be a few years before people, if they ever can, in Britain and the West, take that big deep breath and actually think to themselves, well, it's just like nobody says, excuse me, we had a few years of Islamic terrorism, but it stopped. And what happened there? No one can think like that. I can now. It's good for me. Right. I think that's what I'm going to end with. Yep, there's a dozen little snippets of film that are good about the reality of the specific stuckness in rural communities between a few weeks ago and now that I'll get around to, because I'm very diligent. So, come back.